Hello, everyone. This is Miss Lagma Sheikh. I have been teaching from 1993 and I have been teaching the Cambridge International Curriculum, and my subjects are English language and literature. Uh, I have this firm belief that we are all lifelong learners. Learning never ends, and I think lifelong learners make the best teachers. That is my thought process, my belief. Um, I'm sure you all have heard of this very famous quote by Miss Reba McIntyre, where she says, "To succeed in life, you need three things: a wishbone, a backbone, and a funny bone." I, in fact, think and I agree with this image here, which says that the teacher needs the funny bone first. So I am sure a few of you would agree with me. Let me know in your in the chat box if you agree with me. All right, thank you. Okay, let's move on. My session is about humor in the classroom. To be very honest, as a teacher over so many years, I've understood that at times, when you are teaching, things can become a little too much for us. A little bit of humor at that time can alleviate all the stress and all the distress that you may be facing, and that is why I love talking about humor in the classroom. We have this very interesting quote by Ed Dunkelbaugh, who believes that everyone benefits. The whole school benefits when humor becomes a part of pedagogy. It may come as a surprise to some of you. I hope only some and not all. That humor has to be inbuilt in the pedagogy. And you will ask me how. How do you think we can, include humor in our teaching? Do we inbuild it in our lesson plan? So this short session will help you to do just that. All right, because obviously humor helps in so many things. It, as I already pointed out, reduces stress and tension, and you will be also surprised to know that it improves retention of information, it creates understanding in the classroom, and obviously it is a very positive aspect, isn't it? Anything to do with humor makes us all feel pleasure. We all are appreciative of it, and it creates a better bond, I think, between students and teachers. Are you aware that when we laugh, 15 facial muscles contract and our breathing pattern changes? Try to do this, if possible, try to do it now, even as the session is on, and you you will feel that the way your breathing changes. Please observe and believe me, it is all for the better. So a short, joke. The teacher says, "Students, we will have only half a day of school this morning." And the students say, "Wow, hurrah, hooray." And the teacher says, "We will have the other half this afternoon." So I hope this joke brightened up your day a little bit. So, what is humor? As we already discussed, what Ed Dunkelbaum said, it's something funny. It makes people smile. All right, it amuses people. And how does humor come about? Well, it can come about through words, through actions. All right, banter can also be humor. Give and take. When wittily we sort of discuss or talk to each other. All right, repartee as it is known as. Humor can also make you cry. I mean, that's interesting and surprising, isn't it? There is also something called as dry humor. So we have words and experiences and actions, as I already told you. Sometimes images, ideas, movies, songs can make you think humorously, all right? And humor, of course, is brought about through play of words. Um, as I mentioned earlier, humor is effective. We can engage students through humor, and it can be used as an instructional tool by teachers to make their classroom interaction effective. As mentioned by Melissa Walzer, what are the benefits of humor? As you can see on your screen, there are so many benefits. I had mentioned a few earlier, but you can see some more. And I'm sure if you have used humor in your classroom, I am sure you will recognize some of these and you may have more to add to these lists. Uh, Humor, as I mentioned earlier, can be inbuilt in our lesson plans. You can go prepared to create a sense of humor, or humor can be inadvertent. Something just happens and something humorous is said or done, and everyone bursts out laughing. So, as you can see, humor actually makes us enjoy teaching, all right, and it obviously will make students enjoy learning. To be careful, to be mindful, there is a thin line between mindful and unmindful humor. I'm sure you're aware of that. That humor, if used mindfully, thoughtfully, can create a sense of pleasure and happiness for all, teacher and students included. But if it is thoughtless, then it can create awkward situations. It can lead to a sense of discomfort for both teachers and students. So, as I mentioned here, you can see on the screen, if the humor is relevant to your topic, the topic that you're teaching, if it has an emotional impact, positive impact, if it can make them remember something and make the students laugh, if it reinforces what you're teaching, that is mindful humor. On the contrary, unmindful humor is, sometimes people just getting in something into the class by way of words or actions which has nothing to do with the lesson, which is irrelevant, or you start targeting the teacher or the students, which is not at all humor. All right, it can become oppressive, and it can become hurtful, to either the teacher or the students. Or sometimes, teachers are funny excessively. They are only and only being humorous. So what happens is, if you're only and only focusing on humor, your focus will be less on other aspects of pedagogy. So it is always best to remember that yes, humor is an important part of the teaching learning process, but we should know when to use it, how to use it, why to use it, and that would make it an effective tool. So, mindful humor, of course, as I earlier mentioned, is course related humor where we are respectful of differences. All right. Sometimes some things which may seem humorous to one person may be torturous to another person. So we, as I already mentioned, there is a thin line. One needs to be careful. So I just want to give you an example of unmindful humor. As you can see on the screen, it so happened that in a night class, we have night school, as you're well aware of. In a night class, a student had fallen asleep. Obviously, maybe the student was working throughout the day or had other commitments throughout the day. So the student had fallen asleep. So the instructor in the class told everyone, let's scream loudly, one, two, three, and they all scream, ah! And you can imagine the person who was peacefully sleeping, maybe out of exhaustion or out of a real need, was suddenly awoken, and startled by this. And believe me, the person panicked, and it affected the person physically, mentally, because at that moment when the person woke up, because of the scream and the mental tension, the person, the student could not even see. And then, while the teacher, the instructor, and the other students had a good laugh, the sleeping student did not find it funny. Obviously, it was something that was extremely distressful and uncomfortable for the student, and that student left that class, did not attend after that. So, yes, there has to be an understanding on the side of the teacher as well as on part of the student about what constitutes humor and what is not humor. All right. It could be prejudice, it could be hurtful, it could be so many things. So, let's move on. As mentioned by Mary Kay Tedrow, laughter is an important part. It creates a strong sense of community among the learners. And if, as we discussed earlier, as I mentioned earlier, if we are mindful and we are not making fun of someone else, we are not laughing at someone else's expense, we are not making someone else uncomfortable, then everyone can bond over, humor. There can become an inside joke or a shared joke between the teachers and the students in the classroom. Now, There is always this question: how does one include humor in our lesson plan? All right. So here is a list of what you could do. How could you bring in humor into your classroom? Because, as discussed earlier, you have the funny bone, and you are naturally humorous and spontaneous and witty, and you are able to create that in class. Or you may have one or two students or a group of students who have so much to bring in humorously into the classroom. That's great. But what if you yourself, there are many people who say, I don't have a sense of humor, my students do not have a sense of humor. Well, I do agree that when we talk about the nature versus nurture debate, there could be a little reservation on part of some people to bring in humor or to be humorous. That's understandable. So, as a teacher, don't feel limited. Don't feel, oh, just because I can't be humorous, I can't bring in humor into the classroom. As you can see on your screen, there are so many ways in which you can plan a little bit of a humorous interlude or a humorous section in your class, so that your children, your students can enjoy along with you. As you can see on the screen, we have over here the use of a pun. I value our friendship, which is a pun on the word friendship, and you can see the students or the children being represented as two chips. All right, over here we have a caricature of Will Smith. You can see his big ears jutting out. There are so many other ways in which you can uh, include humor in your classroom. Now, let me give a word of caution, teachers. Just because I'm saying, oh, let's be humorous, let's bring in humor, doesn't mean that, we search for something and forcefully or forcibly try to create humor. Sorry, that won't happen, because I'm sure you're all aware that there is something in comedy called timing. If your timing is correct, if at the right moment you say or do something, it will create humor. Otherwise, it will go dead, or it will not create any humor at all. You will lose that moment. So this has to be worked out well, so that your students enjoy uh, uh, listening to you, or you know sort of interacting while that humorous aspect takes place. So, for example, I love telling anecdotes. I love beginning my classes with anecdotes. So I would like to share an anecdote with you about Mullah Nasruddin. I don't know how many of you are aware of Mullah Nasruddin. If you are aware, you know very well that he stands in line with Birbal and Tenali Raman and all these, witty people who were quick at repartee and answering, back, and also who were good at, uh, giving some kind of quotable quotes and solving problems and coming up with a lot of humorous solutions, okay, to life's issues. So once Mullah Nasruddin was invited by a neighboring village. Okay, the villagers told the headman of the village and all his committee that please invite him. He has gone and spoken to a lot of other villages, so let us also invite him. Now, on the day when he had been invited, Mullah Nasruddin was feeling very lazy. He didn't want to go at all. He just wanted to relax at home. So what happened was, when he was like, when the headman and all his committee members came to his house to escort him to the village because they were honoring him out of respect, he didn't want to go, but since they were there, he had to go. So very, lazily, lethargically, he walked along with them. The village was close by, so they all walked to the village, and an opening was made where everyone was seated. The entire number of people, the whole crowd of people from the village were there. So then he started talking to them. He said, "All right, who all among you know what I'm going to speak about today?" So obviously the villagers didn't know anything. So they said, "We don't know, we don't know." "Oh, you don't know? What's the use of speaking to people who don't know? Bye." And the Mullah Nasruddin went away, and the villagers were shocked. So they immediately told the headman and the committee to get him back. They ran after him and they got him back. They said, "Sir, please come back. We're waiting to listen to you. The villagers are waiting." So again, very, slowly, with great hesitation, he went. Again, he asked, "All right, How many of you know what I am going to speak about today? Do you know what I'm going to speak about? So this time the villagers were a little wiser. So they all said, yes, 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 we know what you're going to speak about. Oh, if you all know what I'm going to speak about, what is the use of me speaking to you about it? Bye. Again, he left. Now, this time the villagers were out of their wits. They were totally shocked, flabbergasted, flummoxed. All right. Again, they requested the headman and the villagers to, I mean, the committee to go and request him to come back. So this time again, they went after him. This time with even more reluctance, Mullah Nasruddin retraced his steps back towards the opening where the villagers were waiting for him. Okay, how many of you know? Who knows what I'm going to talk to you about today? Now, this time the villagers were better prepared. So, half of them said, yes, yes, we know. The other half said, no, we don't know. Okay, all those who know, tell about it to all those who don't know. Bye. So, this is how Mullah Nasruddin escaped from giving a speech. And this anecdote is something that almost always makes people laugh, whoever hears it. So anecdotes are a good way of creating humor. Let's move on to other ways in which you can create humor in the classroom. You can share memes, or you can make your students make memes. I don't know how many of you have tried this, but during the pandemic, we had become experts at all this. There were so many tools available, which are available even now. You can go online and search for them, which can help you create memes. So you can take ready images from the net and add witty lines over there, all right, to make everyone laugh. Or there are certain tools where you can actually even create an image and then make people laugh with all your pointers about it. So let us look at a few memes that were very, very popular and that are still popular. So you can see here the teacher early in the morning, all spick and span and all well dressed with hair in place, the coiffure and all. And then you can see the teacher by the end of the day, because of there's so much happening and so much to do. And so these are memes, of course, as I said, to create humor. You can ask students to create memes about themselves, all right. You can use cartoons. Cartoons are also another fantastic way in which we can make people laugh. So here, as you can see, we have examples of two cartoons which, let me tell you, have always made my students laugh, or teachers whoever I have trained, or sessions where I have conducted. Let me tell you, this is my 12th session about humor in the classroom. And believe me, I think humor is important with the world going the way it is. So much of stress, as I already mentioned earlier. I think a little bit of humor goes a long way to help us relax, unwind, and so on. Punctuation can also create humor, inadvertently or deliberately. So, I'm sure you all know the great example of "Let's eat grandma." So, if you're going to say "Let's eat grandma," it sounds as if we are all cannibals. We all want to eat grandma. But if we pause correctly, "Let's eat grandma." So you're actually telling grandma that okay, let's go and eat. And when you write what you're saying, you need to punctuate to know the to create that sense of a pause. So here we have some examples. One of them is this one. I love baking my friends. Sorry, I love baking my family and my friends. So if you put the comma there, it creates a clarity. I love baking, my family, and my friends. So here the Oxford comma, as it is called, the one that is used before the and, becomes very important, doesn't it? Or look at this one. We are going to learn to cut and paste, kids. Obviously, you need to put the comma in the right place. Let me know where you will put the comma so that the sentence gives a clear idea that we are going to teach children how to cut and paste, and not that we are going to cut and paste the children themselves. So commas matter. I know that in this day and age on WhatsApp and all, we have a lot of communication that goes on, and we don't bother about punctuations, which I understand in an informal setting is absolutely fine. People are expected to understand, but let me tell you, there have been misunderstandings created, and instead of humor, it has been torture for some people when, due to a lack of correct punctuation, they have missed out on something important, or they have misinterpreted something, all right, or they have they've created some kind of a bad feeling in someone's mind because they were not very clear with their punctuation. So please remember, punctuation is important. Or even spelling. Look at this one. Are you sure you want to exist instead of exit? Now, be careful. Sometimes misspellings can also create humor inadvertently. That is, happening without one thinking about it, or even deliberately. What about puns? I love puns. Puns are a play on words. And if teachers think that puns are only and only for language teachers, let me, get rid of that illusion. Let me make it very clear to you that puns can be used by teachers in almost all subjects. So here I have a collection of puns that I have taken from the net on based on different subjects. So for example, there are so many puns which you can use for all kinds of subjects, and you can get them from the net. You can put them up on the board. You can say them aloud. You can ask students to collect them and make posters. But let me tell you one thing. This session is all about using humor mindfully. So obviously, sometimes it happens spontaneously. Something funny happens. Maybe someone falls and people laugh, which is fine. It's a natural human reaction. But you immediately get out there, help the person up, and say, "Hey, I also had the same experience." Everything goes back to normal. Of course, as I told you earlier, it can't be unmindful where someone falls, everyone laughs, and the teacher laughs the loudest, and everyone says, "Oh, you're always uh, doing this, or you're always falling, or you're always unstable," and that becomes wrong, and that's not humor at all. So let's continue with this. But as I was saying earlier, if in your classrooms you realize over, say, one session or two or three or four, that things are going dully, they're not, there's no little bit of bright spark or something that makes things interesting, work in humor. As I said, use memes, okay, use cartoons, and now we are going to discuss about how you can use puns. So look at this pun, which has to do with history. So, why was it called the Dark Ages? Why were the early days of history called the Dark Ages? Because there were so many nights. So it's a play on the word night, Knight, and Night. So at night we have darkness, all right. So something like this, if you can bring into your history classrooms, it'll be great for the students. Or over here, when we talk about science, you're living, you occupy space, you have a mass, you matter. And people enjoy, and believe me, students will remember this. The way you say it also makes a difference. Your expressions, your body language also makes a difference. And believe me, they will remember this for a long, long time. So when we talk about geography, one tectonic plate bumped into another and said, "Sorry, my fault." And you're discussing fault lines. So bring in humor like this at a time when you're teaching the particular topic, and it will really and truly help students retain so many things. All right. So we have a math pun over here. Why wasn't he greater or lesser than anyone? Well, that's the equal to sign. You're so humble, all right? So there are a lot of math puns. Riddles can make people laugh. So I have a few examples of riddles here on the screen. If you can answer this, will be great. All right. A one-story house in which everything is yellow, yellow balls, yellow doors, yellow furniture. What color are the stairs? Obviously, it's a one-story house, no stairs. The more of this there is, the less you see. What is it? Darkness. All right. I have branches but no fruits, trunk, or leaves. What am I? A bank. All right, so many. Tongue twisters are a great way of creating humor. She sells seashells on the seashore. So I have a lot of competitions in class. Being a language teacher, it helps me. So at times when I'm teaching, say, alliteration, I ask my students to learn up, especially the Peter Piper one. And they all learn it up, and then they have to say it in class and say it quickly. And then everyone is keeping account of the time, in which it is said, and less mistakes. So less amount of time and least mistakes, you're the winner. Let's try something like this. Uh, You can list your favorite tongue twisters. You can ask your students to list them. Slapstick comedy is a fantastic way of making students laugh. Sometimes a teacher can, do some action. Sometimes when you fall by mistake, you can get up and say, "Hey, I need to practice a lot." Or I always tell, my teachers when I'm training them or students, "Oh, you know what? Earlier I was slim. I could stand on my fingers. Actually, I could stand on my fingers, but now I've put on some weight, or I'm so old now that I can't even stand on my feet." So, when we laugh at ourselves, it helps, students also to laugh. So, here are some well known slapstick comedians, okay? Uh, these are some of my favorites. You can tell me which are your favorites, all right? Caricatures are a good way of creating humor. You can ask students to, draw themselves, or they can draw you if you don't mind. And, basically, you pick up the most important feature of someone's face or body, and that is exaggerated. So, I have some examples here, all right? So, caricatures, you can ask them to make a caricature of themselves. This is a caricature made by a student of me, all right? And there are so many strategies, teachers. If you feel that you don't have a funny bone, I'm sure you will develop one by introducing all these strategies, all right? As I told you earlier, if we make a mistake, we can just laugh at ourselves. "Oh, I am butterfingers," if you let something fall, and then they will laugh with you rather than at you, right? Ask humorous questions, put them in your papers also. Sometimes they may enjoy, teachers, right? Keep a bulletin board where jokes are put up. Of course, nothing offensive, as we discussed earlier, nothing hurtful, but fun, light-hearted. Ask your children to bring in the jokes, they can put them up, right? So many things. Students can make their own comic strips. All right, have a joke Friday. A day on which everyone gets a joke, and either they're put up on the board or they're said by each other, right? Bring in some humorous aspects in your writing, especially language teachers can do that. I tell students about write a tall tale or say a tall tale where you can exaggerate as much as you want. Plan a funny hat day if you are in the lower grades. Mismatched socks, or they can wear girls can wear mismatched earrings, or boys can wear, say, anything that they like wearing, say mismatched ties maybe, all right? So many things they can do. You can let me know your strategies. So when teachers smile, laugh, and goof off, they are actually modeling creativity, as per John Spencer. With that, I conclude my talk. I hope it has been helpful, and I can't thank you enough. Look at the pun there. Who says
Yes.
algebra isn't useful? 7q plus 3q is equal to 10q. Right up to 4q plus 6q is equal to 10q. So thank you, everyone. I will stop sharing now. Thank you.
Thank you, Miss Nagma. Wonderful session, ma'am. And so much, thank you so much for showing us that education and laughter really do belong together. That was a fantastic session. I personally thoroughly enjoyed your session, Miss Nagma, be it Mr. Mullah Nazruddin or Tenali Raman or anecdotes or any the last punchline 10Q. So wonderful, ma'am. Since there are no audience, I would like to ask you a couple of questions.
Yes, ma'am, please. Go
So,
ahead.
how did you first discover humor's effectiveness in teaching?
Excellent point. I think I discovered humor's effectiveness when I began teaching, So I was a novice teacher when I began teaching, and I had, students of a mixed nationalities, because I began teaching in the UAE. So they were students from different nationalities. So obviously the classrooms would be a little volatile because everyone has their own natures, their own understanding of things. So when things would blow up or things would go wrong, I suddenly realized that saying a one liner, witty one liner, or doing some funny action would release the tension. Students would immediately start laughing. And slowly I learned that I could make them laugh with me rather than at me. And believe me, one time, I would like to say this to you, miss, because there was a time when I was pregnant. So obviously I was quite heavy at that time, quite
Mhm.
bloated. And one day in class, I was discussing similes with my students, okay?
Mhm.
And one of the similes was as grey as an elephant. And ma'am, I didn't realize, but when I said the line, it struck me that I had worn a monochromatic grey dress. It was fully grey. My dupatta was grey. I wear a hijab. My scarf was grey. My salwar, and it suddenly struck me that I am looking like, a bloated, sort of a baby elephant kind of, and I could see my students. They were all these boys of grade 9 looking at me. There were 33 of them, but Miss, I will never forget that they did not smile. The love and respect was so much. They did not smile, forget laughing, but I could see that, in their eyes and in their facial expressions that they were finding it very funny. So then
Right.
what I did was I laughed out loud. And I said, yes, as you can see, one little baby elephant here. And then they laughed with me, and I was so touched, and I realized that in time I had made them understand that, you can't laugh
Yes.
at people every time. Sometimes you have to be mindful of them. But
Yes. Yes,
actually,
we
that
do.
taught me that I should laugh with them and I should make them, and I thanked them. And I told them, I hope in life when you come across a situation where something could be hurtful to others, control your laughter.
True.
So,
Discussing about that, ma'am, not all the times like humor can be taken in a positive way, as we
correct.
discussed. Any humor related classroom failure did you experience?
Could you please repeat yourself? I lost you for a minute.
Yeah. Can you, what is your biggest humor related classroom failure? Did you face any in your class?
Okay, okay. So yeah, I do remember once I was telling a joke. Sorry, I'll repeat myself. There was
Yes.
some issue, hitch. Yeah, so that's a lovely question, and I would like to discuss this as well because we all learn so much from our mistakes and failures. I'm sure you agree with me.
Right.
So I did. Once I think I misread the room, and there is a
Mhm.
joke on Shakespeare. I enjoy saying it, and it is a hit every time, and people sort of laugh. But I was speaking to people who were not at all interested in Shakespeare, not at all interested in drama or
Mhm.
language. And I
Mhm.
thought, oh, let me try this joke with them. And believe me, they did listen to it and no one laughed. And of course, that was a huge fail. But it was a learning for me. And this is what I bring into my trainings now, Ms. Pravina.
Mhm.
That, and as I've mentioned, if you have observed in my talk today, that one has to be aware of the audience. One has to
True.
be aware what will affect them, what will make them laugh. So if we are planning something for the classroom, as I said, making humor a part of our pedagogy, our lesson plan, you have to think before you just do anything or say anything. So yes, I agree with you that, and I also keep telling people that there is a great chance of humor misfiring.
Right. So, how do you handle humor across different age groups?
Okay, that's an excellent question. To be honest, as a teacher, I am teaching, grade 11 and 12. I teach the AS and A level students. But as a trainer, I am training number of adults, especially teachers. And of course, as a human being, I meet people who can be right from, little children to you know,
Yeah.
really old people. And believe me, it's not that easy. So, as I said, you have to read the room, you have to understand the person first before, starting to say a joke or a line. You have to feel the pulse, as it were, of the people. When you talk to them, you get to know what could be. I mean, it's not easy, miss. Of course, it takes experience. At 55, I can say I got a little bit of experience. I'm still learning. I think
Yes.
the older you grow, the more rigid you become. So I'm happy teaching students so that I can, stay youthful in my thoughts at least, be
Yes.
more accepting. So I think, as uh, as you asked me across the ages, so obviously there has to be age specific humor. You can't tell little children, a joke which has big words. They will not understand at all. Some people may just laugh at slapstick. You do an action and everyone starts laughing. So I remember when it comes to babies, my own children or other babies, as I love my being with babies, a lot of the humor is created by our actions. I'm sure you agree with me.
Right.
The way we smile or laugh or move or dance, and children get very excited by that. But if you are talking to people who are more intellectually attuned, then they may find humor in the way words are being used. So I think that's how we can manage.
Right. So, ma'am, what's the big difference between being funny and being humorous?
Being funny and being,
Humorous.
well, to be honest, many people would say that, these words are synonyms. Many would say that being funny and being humorous, they are like synonyms. They mean more or less the same.
Mhm.
All right. Uh, there could be a slight difference, and the difference is basically to do with language, number one, because humor is like how you can create experiences to provoke laughter, all right, to
Mhm.
make people feel amused. Humor can be used to create social bonds and all. Funny is what, like, for example, funny is, what causes laughter, or what could be, like the person who could create humor or laughter. All right, so
Mhm.
I would say that could be a
Mhm.
difference.
A
What
slight,
do you think, ma'am?
yes, yeah, there's a slight difference. Even I feel, being funny and being humorous are similar. They're from the same garden, I feel. So, so how has online teaching changed your humor approach, ma'am?
Uh, so, um, so as I said that, funny and humor, as I was telling you, that for
Mhm.
a language teacher, I would look at it from the viewpoint of what do the words mean.
Right.
So funny is an adjective, humor is a noun, right? Funny is what creates laughter. Humor relates to everything to do with creating laughter, or creating a pleasant experience. Humor is also like what is there in your mind. All right. So, for
Right.
example, you can either be humorous, so it is in your mind, your mental faculty, by way of the way in which you express or understand humor, and funny is whether you can make others laugh or no, isn't it?
Right.
So when it came to online teaching, all right, because let me
Mhm.
tell you one thing, ma'am, when you meet people face to face, it does make a difference. Don't you
Yes.
agree?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Because you are in
Oh,
there, you're right
with
there
them.
with your
Yes.
voice, your entire body, as it were. And for teachers, it's
True.
so important to be connected physically also with students, in the sense when you are in the room, your presence
True.
creates a difference.
True.
So I would like to tell you something very interesting, ma'am. These sessions on humor in the classroom, actually, I began for teachers during the pandemic when things were online.
Oh,
That's
okay.
ironic, isn't it? That
Mhm.
I actually
Yeah.
started teaching or training people or talking about humor, because in the pandemic, everyone was online and there were so many sessions being arranged. So I actually started with this online. And in fact, after almost 7 or 8 online sessions, I had my first offline session on humor.
Oh,
Of
okay.
course, there was a huge difference, ma'am.
Yeah.
Offline, you can do so much. I was doing actions, they were doing, I
Yeah.
was making them dance. We were actually, laughing uproariously, rip roaring laughter could be heard. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Online session, I think that was the need of the hour, maybe the
Yes,
humor in
absolutely.
classroom. Yes.
Absolutely.
So, because I would love to talk and ask you many questions, but because of the time constraint, I have to end this session with this last question, ma'am.
Yeah.
How do you ensure humor doesn't undermine authority?
Yes, that's a very good question. And sometimes humor actually helps you to establish and retain your authority. See,
Yes.
what happens is, if, as I discussed earlier, of course, we didn't have much time, half an hour, so I would say is less for such a
Yes.
vast topic. But thank you for allowing me to put in my thoughts, to, share my experiences. So you are
Mhm.
absolutely right that, sometimes humor can create a kind of a situation where authority could be undermined. But that's the whole point about it. That is that humor then. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Is that humor? So, how to counter it? Perhaps you could use humor to counter it. You get what I'm trying to say, ma'am? That humor, if it undermines, if you're saying it is undermining authority, then that's not humor.
Right.
All right. Humor actually creates a sense of well-being. Humor actually, sort of defines authority. Humor actually gives authority, I feel, at times.
Right.
If there is something which seems humorous or seems funny, but it's creating issues or rifts, then that is not humor. I
Yes.
hope that is understood, ma'am.
Yes. Yes, ma'am. Absolutely. So thank you for the fantastic session, ma'am. I thoroughly enjoyed. And before I end the session, anything else you want to mention on our platform, Miss Nagma?
Sorry, could you repeat? I lost you for some time.
Okay. I said, like, thank you for sharing your knowledge on our platform. Before I end the session, anything else you want to mention on our
No, I
platform?
wish to thank you so much, Miss Ravina, for giving me this opportunity. And thank you very much, and all the best for all your future sessions.
Thank you so much, ma'am. I'll end the session now.